All right, this is Brother Peter. We're in chapter 34. We just talked about the story of Moses going on the mountain. It had been 40 days and nights on the mountain. He had come down with the tablets. He had broke them. And God sent him back up to get a new set of tablets. And in 34 in chapter 1 it said, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Hew thee 2 tablets of stone, like unto the first, and I will write upon these tablets the words that were in the first tablets, which thou breakest. And be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me in the top of the mountain. And no man shall come up with thee, neither let any man be seen throughout all the mount. Neither let the flocks nor the herds feed before that mount." And he hewed 2 tablets of stone, like unto the first. And Moses rose up early in the morning, and went up unto Mount Sinai, as the Lord had commanded him, and took his hand, and the 2 tablets of stone. And the Lord descended in the cloud, and stood with them there, and proclaimed the name of the Lord. There's the Lord coming down in a cloud, and stood with him, Moses, by himself, and proclaimed the name of the Lord. And the Lord passed by before him, and proclaimed the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering, and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will be no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, and upon the children's children, unto the 3rd generation. And Moses made haste, and bowed his head toward the earth, and worshipped. Moses made haste. He bowed his head toward the earth, and he worshipped. And Moses made haste, it said, verse 8, and bowed his head toward the earth, and worshipped. And he said, "If now I have found grace in thy sight, O Lord, let my Lord, I pray thee, go among us, for it is a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for thine inheritance." We are, for the biggest part today, a stiff-necked people. We want to be contrary to what God does with us, through whom he does it with us. And we need to be very careful of that, because we are in the same close place to God as these children of Israel were. And we can still take the punishment physically for the idolatry that we cause within the church this day. So we must be very careful. Be very careful how you walk, what you say, what you do, how you allow other people to coerce you through what they say. You end up out somewhere on the left wing, out there, way out of touch of God, out of touch of everything. And they do the same thing to the next person in line. So you get this thing, and you carry the ball, and they force you to carry the ball, and you shouldn't be the ball carrier. There's usually, in a good team, there are a few people who do the hitting of the home runs. There are a few people who do the shooting of the baskets. And there are many people in the game. But their job is to tend the one that really can put the ball through the hoop, or that really can put the ball over the fence, or that really can put the hockey puck in the cage, or that can really do the things that they do for whatever it is they're doing. Now, the one that the other team goes after, I noticed the other day, and we were passing by on the television, something we don't really watch, which is kickball, soccer, whatever, yeah, it's kickball. I think it's soccer. But I watched that guy on the other team, a couple of them, go after the main man. And they knew they were going to get fouled. But they kicked that man so hard in his leg, backside of his leg and his muscle, that it rendered him useless in the game and put him out of the game. And that's what the devil does. The man that's playing proper, the man that's doing the best in the game, the devil's going to come after him and is going to run him out. He's going to run him out of there if he can. He's going to kick him in the muscle, and he's going to render him useless. Now, and he said, if now I have found grace in thy sight, O Lord, have my Lord, I pray thee, go among us, for it is a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for thine inheritance. I want to tell you something. Moses brought himself down to the place to where he said, us. He was up on the mountain when they built the golden calf. He was up on the mountain when they sinned. But he said us. He said us. He included himself. And he said, behold, I make a covenant before all thy people. I will do. God made a covenant with Moses before all the people, and marvels such as have not been done in all the earth, nor in any nation, and all the people among which thou art shall see the work of the Lord. For it is a terrible thing that I will do with thee. It is a terrible thing that I will do with thee. When he said, the Lord said, it is a terrible thing, he meant to the people, it is a frightening thing. It is a frightening thing that he's going to do to the people. Observe thou that which I command thee this day. Behold, I drive out before thee the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, and the Hittites, and the Jebusites. Do you know that God took bees and drove the people out of towns and cities before Moses and the children of Israel? And they walked in and the table was set, the food was on the table. They walked into the town, the houses were built, the yards were swept, and the people were gone. And they walked in, and God said, I drove these people. He said, take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land where thou goest, lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. Now we come down. Right here, we're coming down to what we need to see. He said, unless it be a snare, verse 12, in the midst of thee. My brothers, my sisters, in the Lord, listen to me. Don't allow a snare to take you in the church that you're in. No matter how big the church is, no matter how small the church is. I would have a question for you that would baffle you in a way if you was to check it out. The truth of the matter is in checking it out, you could stir waters that don't need to be stirred. You do not need to stir waters in other churches. But you can take almost any church of any size where there is a real, born again, bona fide man of God doing what he does, that he's going to do much house-to-house visiting. That he's going to do much restaurant-to-restaurant eating with a certain group. That he's going to look like he takes sides. Now, if he doesn't do it, this is bad terminology, but it's almost that he's damned by the people if he doesn't do it. But let me tell you what, 6 months of him mingling with people, going out to eat, and in 6 months there would be some say, well, now he's damned because he goes out and eats with this group, or this group, and he don't go out and eat with all of us. So therefore, Moses' position was a sticky wicket. And so is the position today of any pastor who has any church of any size. He is not going to please all the people all the time. And by the way, those who may say this or that about him, they may fill that position if they care to. They may take up the gauntlet for the preacher and go visiting. I go visiting because of conviction. I'm convicted to visit some peoples and do visit some. Not perhaps as good as I should instead of the preacher, but taking the place of the preacher to go visit and be a visitor in the name of the church, as if the pastor was the one doing the visiting. Now, he said he drove them all out. Now, verse 13, but ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves. For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Verse 15, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a-whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice to their gods, and call thee, and thou eat his sacrifice. Wow. He's saying a group of people are going to do this, and when they do, when they call on thee, you be careful now that you don't eat of his sacrifice. And thou take of their daughters unto the sons, and their daughters go whoring after their gods, and make thy sons go whoring after their gods. Thou shalt make thee no molten gods, or no other gods before thee. And then the feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, in the time of the month Abib. For in that month Abib thou comest out from Egypt. That was the first month of the year. That was April. They came out of Egypt. And all that opened the matrix is mine. All of the babies that were born were God's. And every firstling among the cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male. Now, the first of every animal that was born was to be God's for a sacrifice. Not just a sacrifice. There were thousands of Levitical priests. Those Levitical priests did not have a piece of land. They did not farm. They did not go out and raise grain. They did not have oxen that plowed the ground. They had oxen that they cut up and put on open fire, and they cooked. Those folks were to eat of the offering after the offering was made. Those folks were to share among the people of the offering after it was made. And God said, the firstling of every one of them, the best you have, the best one that you have, I want. You bring that one to me and you worship it. God requires the best. And if you're following God today and you've been doing your best, you just keep doing your best. Don't take second fiddle. Don't listen to anybody that talks to you about anything other than we're going forward. We are going forward. It's Brother Peter. Got to leave now. See you next time.